Frank Gehry, who died on December 5, 2025 at his home in Santa Monica at the age of 96, left behind one of the most influential legacies in modern architecture. His death was attributed to a brief respiratory illness. Born Frank Owen Goldberg in Toronto in 1929, he grew up in a working-class family before moving with his parents to Los Angeles, where he later studied architecture at the University of Southern California and completed graduate work in urban planning at Harvard. Early in his life, he adopted the surname Gehry, a change encouraged during his first marriage as he attempted to avoid antisemitic discrimination that was common in professional circles at the time. Gehry was married twice. His first marriage, to Anita Snyder, began in 1952 and ended in the late 1960s. In 1975, he married Berta Isabel Aguilera, who remained his partner for the rest of his life. He had 4 children, a daughter, Brina, with Berta, 2 sons, Alejandro and Samuel, also with Berta, and a daughter, Leslie, from his first marriage, who died in 2008. At the time of his death, he was survived by Berta, Brina, Sam, Alejandro, and his sister. Over the course of more than 6 decades, Gehry reshaped global architecture through an approach rooted in experimentation, sculptural forms, and a persistent refusal to accept architectural conventions as fixed. In his early years, he produced modest commercial and residential projects, but even then he incorporated materials like plywood, corrugated metal, and chain-link fencing, elements that many architects considered far too ordinary for serious design. His 1978 renovation of his own home in Santa Monica was a turning point. By wrapping a typical suburban house in unconventional industrial materials, he demonstrated that buildings could challenge expectations and spark debate rather than simply blend in. Gehry's international breakthrough came with the Guggenheim Museum Bilbao, completed in 1997. The titanium-clad structure, composed of sweeping curves and irregular sculptural volumes, became an instant icon of contemporary design. More importantly, it transformed the city of Bilbao itself, attracting millions of visitors and boosting the local economy. This phenomenon became widely known as the Bilbao effect, a term used worldwide to describe the power of bold architecture to revitalize entire cities. The building became a defining moment in late 20th century architecture and cemented Gehry's place as one of the most influential designers of his generation. Following Bilbao, Gehry completed many large-scale cultural works, including the Walt Disney Concert Hall in Los Angeles, which became one of the most recognizable buildings in the United States. He went on to design concert halls, museums, pavilions, academic buildings, and residential towers in countries around the world. He was among the first architects to adapt advanced aerospace modeling software for building design, allowing his team to shape, calculate, and construct forms that previously would have been nearly impossible to build. This technological shift influenced an entire generation of architects who adopted similar tools to produce complex geometries. Though celebrated, Gehry was not without critics. Some argue that his curving, sculptural buildings prioritized spectacle over practicality or cost. But even his detractors acknowledge that he expanded the vocabulary of architecture and forced the field to confront new questions about creativity, expression, and the relationship between art and the built environment. His work invited the public, not just specialists, to think emotionally about buildings, to see them as dynamic objects that could inspire or curiosity or delight. Throughout his career, he received the highest honors in architecture, including the Pritzker Prize, the Royal Gold Medal, the Premium Imperial, and the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Yet despite his accolades, he often described himself as simply someone who followed his intuition, experimenting endlessly and refusing to repeat himself. Frank Gehry's legacy rests not only in the famous structures he designed, but in the way he changed how people understand architecture. He proved that buildings could move, twist, shimmer, and surprise. He demonstrated that a single project could reshape a city's identity. And through his innovations in design technology, he set new standards for what was structurally and creatively possible. His influence can be seen in skylines around the world, and in the countless architects who credit him for showing them that buildings could be not only structures, but sculptures, and that creativity, at any scale, could change the world.